Hi everyone, it's Helen Horta here, founder of FormHelp, and we are on the australia.gov.au/states website. Now, I've done some guides on how to complete the Australia DPD or Digital Passenger Declaration, and I'm finding that lots of people are asking whether I know what the entry requirements are for each of the different states and territories. So I decided I needed to address the entry requirements for each of the states and territories. Now, before I begin, I have a couple of requests. Now, I have a goal of reaching 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2022. So if you can help out, that would be greatly appreciated. And if you find this video helpful, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Thanks, everyone. Okay, now let's get into seeing what the entry requirements are for New South Wales. Now, as you can see here, we are on the New South Wales Government website, and it says here international air travel to and from New South Wales. Now, rules and restrictions apply to entering New South Wales by air from outside Australia and transiting through New South Wales from an international country. And as you can see here, it was updated on the 25th of March, 2022. Now, if we'll have a look here. So, guidelines for all international arrivals. Now, all international arrivals should ensure they follow the New South Wales Health Guidelines for all international arrivals. And there's a link there. And if you look in the description box, there will be links. All the links that are here, you'll find in the description box. Now, the updated rules for unvaccinated travellers. So, from the 21st of Feb 2022, hotel quarantine for unvaccinated people arriving from overseas has been reduced from 14 days to 7 days. So that's great news there. So read the New South Wales Government's update to COVID-19 settings. Now, on this page, these are all the topics that will be covered on this page here. Now, I'm not going to cover each of these sections. I will just choose some. Okay, now for fully vaccinated passengers arriving from overseas. So again, all international passengers travelling to Australia must comply with Australian government entry requirements. So that will be the DPD. So upon arrival into New South Wales, passengers who are fully vaccinated must, number 1, go straight to your home or accommodation. Number 2, take a COVID-19 RAT, rapid antigen test. And number 3, self-isolate until you get a negative test result. Now, you must not visit high-risk places for at least 7 days after arrival. So for the next 7 days, a negative RAT in the 24 hours prior to visiting the facility is strongly recommended. Now, please check with the facility before visiting. Get tested. Now, you must take a rapid antigen test or RAT within 24 hours of your arrival in New South Wales. Now, you need to pack your own RAT kit to ensure you have ready access on arrival in New South Wales. So that's a great idea. Save you trying to get to a shop within 24 hours to buy a RAT. Go prepared, have it already packed in your bag so that when you arrive into New South Wales, you can administer that test or conduct that test straight away. Now, a RAT is a self-test that you can do at home. Now, I did have a query from one of the viewers asking whether it had to be a supervised one or if you could do a self-testing one. So for the New South Wales one, you can self-administer the RAT on your own at home. So you don't need it to be supervised. And you must register a positive test result with Service New South Wales. And you do not need to register a negative or invalid rapid antigen test result. Okay, so if you get a negative or a invalid test result, don't worry about reporting that. All thereafter is a positive test result. So if you do test positive, you need to register that test result with Service New South Wales. And for more information, click on that link there if you do test positive. Self-isolation and travelling to your accommodation. Now you must travel directly from the airport to your home or accommodation and self-isolate until you receive a negative test result from your RAT taken within 24 hours of your arrival in New South Wales. Now, self-isolation means staying at your home or accommodation and remaining separated from others, even if you are fully vaccinated and feeling well. Now, if you are staying with family or friends who have not returned from overseas, they are not required to self-isolate with you, but must remain in a separate room to you at all times. Now, when travelling from the airport to your home or accommodation, it is recommended that you travel in a private vehicle, taxi or rideshare, and please do not use public transport. So make sure you wear a face mask at all times, sit as far away from the driver or other passengers as possible, maximize the flow of fresh air such as by opening windows, sanitize your hands before you get into the vehicle. And again, if you want more information, there is a link there for you. What should the people I live with do? Now, if you live with a person you cannot remain separate from, for example, a child or someone who needs care, they are fully vaccinated, they do not need to self-isolate with you, but they must not attend high-risk settings like healthcare, aged care, disability care, and correctional facilities during your isolation period. Now, if they work in one of these settings, their employer may do a risk assessment to allow them to return to work. And if they are not fully vaccinated, then they must self-isolate with you for your isolation period. What happens after I complete self-isolation? Now, you can only leave self-isolation once you receive a negative result from your RAT taken within 24 hours of arrival in New South Wales. You must continue to comply with the New South Wales health guidelines for all international arrivals, and the link is there. And this includes testing requirements and restrictions on entry to certain settings. Now, you must not go to high-risk settings, for example, aged care, healthcare, disability care, and correctional facilities for at least 7 days after arrival, unless you are a patient or resident seeking care. So I interpret that to mean that, if I've just hopped off the plane, I've tested within the 24 hours and I am negative, I should still not go until at least 7 days after I arrive. And if I'm still negative, then I should be able to go to these high-risk settings. For the next 7 days, a negative COVID-19 RAT test is recommended before entering high-risk settings, preferably within the 24 hours prior to visiting. So contact the facility and check if there are additional requirements or restrictions before visiting. Where to find more information? Now, if you have questions about self-isolation, then you can contact the New South Wales Health Isolation Support Line on 1800 943 553 or call Service New South Wales on 137788. Now, definition of fully vaccinated. Now, to check if you meet the Australian definition of being fully vaccinated, visit the Australian Government website, and then other countries may have different definitions of what it is to be fully vaccinated. Now, according to New South Wales, a fully vaccinated arrival entering New South Wales from overseas includes fully vaccinated international passengers and children under 18 who accompany them, fully vaccinated international flight crew members, international passengers arriving in New South Wales who have evidence of a medical contraindication to COVID-19, and any child under 18 who accompanies them, and children under 18 years of age who are not fully vaccinated and arrive unaccompanied. Okay. Vaccination evidence. Now, you may be asked to provide evidence of your vaccination or medical contraindication to a police officer or border force official, and vaccination evidence includes documentation that shows you are fully vaccinated, and if you were vaccinated in Australia, see the information about the Australian International COVID-19 Vaccination Certificate. And if you were vaccinated overseas, then see the information about foreign vaccination certificates. Now, documentation that shows you have a medical contraindication, and then see below for further information. People who cannot be vaccinated for medical reasons. Now, people who cannot be vaccinated for medical reasons have a medical contraindication, and they must carry a medical contraindication certificate that indicates they are unable to be vaccinated. Now, a COVID-19 medical contraindication is a valid medical reason for a person to not receive a COVID-19 vaccine. For example, if a person has a history of anaphylaxis to a component of a vaccine. So COVID-19 medical contraindication forms are only issued in rare circumstances. So the medical contraindication certificate must meet a certain criteria, and you'll find it in this link here. Now, for further information, refer to the Australian Government Smart Traveller website. People who have previously been diagnosed with COVID-19. The Australian Technical Advisory Group on Immunisation, ATAGI, advises that people with SARS-CoV-2 infection can be vaccinated as soon as they have recovered from their acute illness. And then there's some more information there. People who are not fully vaccinated arriving from overseas. So if you're not fully vaccinated and you're arriving into New South Wales from an overseas location, you will need to go into 7-day mandatory hotel quarantine. So to check if you are fully vaccinated, then visit to the Australian Government website. Then other countries may have a different definition of what it is to be fully vaccinated. However, transiting passengers going to another state or territory. Now, fully vaccinated international passengers are permitted to transit via New South Wales to another state or territory. So in Australia, states and territories have their own rules and restrictions in place. That's because each of the states and territories, they have their own government. So each government will have their own rules and restrictions in place, which you will need to follow. Now, you should check the rules and requirements of the jurisdiction you are travelling to and ensure you are permitted to enter. Now, international passengers who are not fully vaccinated must enter hotel quarantine for 7 days before continuing their journey to another state or territory. And for the latest information, visit to the Australian Interstate Quarantine link right there. Going to an international destination. Now, international transit passengers who are fully vaccinated can depart on another international flight, and you must comply with New South Wales health guidelines for all international arrivals. So if applicable, including testing and self-isolation requirements if the transit is longer than 24 hours. Now, international transit passengers who are not fully vaccinated and arriving in Australia can depart on another international flight if your time is less than 8 hours and you can stay airside, meaning in the transit zone. So this will be possible only if your bags have been checked through to your next destination and you do not need to apply for an exemption and are able to continue your journey to another country. Now, if you go through immigration and you are not fully vaccinated, you will require an exemption to return to the airport for your next flight. And if your departure flight is between 8 to 72 hours after the arrival flight, you will be taken to a quarantine hotel to wait until your departing flight, and an exemption must be approved. Now, to apply for the exemption, just go to the exemptions for air and maritime quarantine link there. And if you are experiencing symptoms of COVID-19, such as fever, cough, sore, or scratchy throat, shortness of breath, or loss of taste or loss of smell, let a member of the airline know immediately, or if you are in the airport, tell a biosecurity officer. And if you're leaving Australia to go to another country, there is that information there, and then flights arriving into New South Wales. And that concludes the entry requirements for overseas travellers going into New South Wales. Hopefully you found that helpful. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It's Helen Hortai, founder of Form Help, signing out. Thanks everyone.